For 100 years, the silent dragon sat on the old wall of Astrofall City. Its scales were dark blue and black, like night after rain. Its wings stayed folded. Its eyes stayed shut. People were born, lived, and died, while the dragon did not move. To children, it was a story come to life. To adults, it was a warning in stone. Everyone knew one strange thing. While the dragon watched, monsters never crossed the plains. The forests outside the walls were full of sharp teeth and dark shapes, yet the creatures always stopped at a line no one could see. Old soldiers said it was the edge of the dragon's shadow. Parents pointed at the silent shape and whispered, "Do not anger the guardian." In the city records, there were many guesses. Some said the dragon was a statue made by lost magic. Others said it was a curse from an angry god, but there was one short line in a very old book. The letters were faded and hard to read. It said, "The dragon waits, not for war but for one." No one understood what that meant. The page was torn, the rest of the words gone. People laughed at the old sentence and closed the book. Time covered the truth like dust. The dragon did not care. It simply waited. On the night this story begins, the sky above Astrofall was heavy with clouds. Thunder rolled far away like slow drums. Guards walked the wall with lanterns that shook in their hands. They traded quiet jokes to push away fear. One of them glanced up at the dragon as he did every night. He froze. The lantern slid from his fingers. The flame went out as it hit the stone. The dragon's eyes were open. They glowed a deep, quiet gold in the dark. Not bright, not wild, just aware. The guard felt that gaze press down on his chest. He wanted to shout, but no sound left his mouth. The dragon slowly turned its head, not toward the forest, not toward the sky, but toward the main gate of the city below. Down at that gate, a young man in a torn coat was knocking with tired fists. His name was Evan Hale, and he had walked for many days to reach this place. Rain dripped from his hair, his boots were full of mud. He carried only a small pack and a metal pendant around his neck. He did not know an ancient dragon was looking for him. He only knew his long journey had to end here. "Open the gate, please," Evan called, his voice rough from travel. "I have come to join the city." For a moment, the guards on the wall did not move. They were still staring at the dragon's glowing eyes. Clouds rumbled above. Wind pulled at cloaks and flags. Evan hit the gate again, weaker this time. His legs shook, his vision blurred. Behind him, in the dark plains, something howled, long and truly hungry. The sound made the wood of the gate vibrate. Shadows shifted just beyond the torchlight. The monsters were much closer than he thought. Evan pressed his palm flat against the cold iron of the gate. At that exact moment, the silent dragon moved. Every stone in the wall trembled as its huge body woke. Dust fell in soft clouds. People cried out in fear. The dragon lifted its head higher than it had in a century. Its chest rose with a slow, deep breath. From its throat came a low sound, not quite a roar, more like the start of a storm. For the first time in 100 years, the silent dragon looked at a human not as a guard over a city, but as the one it had waited for. The sound from the dragon's chest rolled over Astrofall like thunder. For 100 years, the great shape on the wall had been silent. On the battlements, the nearest guard dropped his spear. "The dragon moved," he shouted, voice thin with shock. The silent dragon alive, and staring straight down at the city gate. Below, Evan Hale stood just inside that gate. He did not know a legend was watching him. Behind him, in the open dark, monsters howled. The gate slammed shut with a boom that echoed along the stones. Evan flinched, then sagged with relief. He had made it, he thought. He was safe. The alarm bells began to ring, sharp and endless. People poured into the streets in their nightclothes, staring up at the wall. The dragon's head was turning, slow and careful, tracking the place where the stranger stood. A gust of cold wind swept through the gate tunnel. Evan looked up, heart beating too fast. He had never seen a dragon, yet some part of him felt the weight of that gaze. His pendant under his shirt grew warm against his skin. It gave off a faint golden light, the same color as the dragon's eyes. One guard grabbed his arm. "You there! What trick is this?" the man shouted. "The dragon woke the moment you touched the gate." Others closed in, hands on blades, eyes full of fear. "I only came to ask for work and a bed." It sounded small even to him, The pendant pulsed against his chest like a second heartbeat. In his mind something flickered, the shadow of a vast wing, a woman's voice saying his name, then silence. Outside the walls the monsters could wait no longer. They rushed the city in a black wave, claws scraping stone, eyes burning in the dark. Roars rose and crashed against the battlements. Evan turned toward the sound, dread twisting his stomach. The dragon stepped forward until its chest hung over the outside drop. The stone groaned under its weight, dust falling in thin streams. Then it opened its mouth. No flame came, only a deep, rushing breath. The air of the whole city seemed to lean toward that open jaw. Lanterns flickered backward, cloaks snapped, people cried out. Out in the fields, the charging beasts slowed, claws skidding as if they had hit an unseen wall. Evan staggered as the wind hit him. His hair whipped across his face, his coat flared behind him. For one strange heartbeat he felt joined to the dragon, as if the breath pulling the world forward was also pulling something long asleep inside his chest. The dragon released its breath in a single explosive wave. Sound and air crashed outward over the plains. Grass flattened, stones rolled, trees bent, the front ranks of the monsters shattered and flew, torn away into the dark. The shockwave curved neatly around Astafall. At its quiet center stood Evan, dust glowing around him like pale fire. To everyone watching from the streets and windows, it looked as if the dragon had shielded him, and only him. Whispers rose like sparks. "It is guarding the boy," someone cried. "What is he?" Another answered, voice shaking. "If the Guardian chose a single human over the city, what did that mean for tomorrow? Far above the market square?" The council tower watched through narrow windows. They saw the stranger at the gate's heart, the dragon above, the fallen horde outside. The oldest counselor, a woman with silver hair and a clouded eye, pressed a hand to the stone. She remembered a torn page from an ancient book, a line everyone else had laughed at. "The dragon waits, not for war, but for one," she whispered. Her good eyes stayed fixed on Evan's figure. "Send for him," she said at last, voice hard. "Bring him here under guard." She glanced toward the living shadow on the wall. "Before the dragon decides that only it may keep him." Evan sat on a narrow bench with his wrists tied. The council guards stood near the door, hands on their blades. His pack lay at his feet, his pendant still under his shirt, hot against his skin. The small stone room smelled of dust and iron. High above, the silent dragon crouched on the wall. Even here, under stone, Evan could feel a weight pressing down from that direction. A steady, silent focus, like the dragon's gaze reaching through rock. He tried to slow his breathing. He had walked for weeks to find a safe place. Now he was a prisoner in the first city that let him through its gate. Outside, the memory of the monster wave still echoed in his mind. He saw again the way the dragon's breath had blasted them away, yet curled around him like a shield. The door opened with a long creak. An older woman stepped in, dressed in layered blue and grey robes. Her hair was silver, one eye clouded, the other bright and watchful. Two guards followed her, spears ready. "I am Councillor Mara," she said, voice calm but sharp. "You arrived, and the Guardian woke. You will tell me why." "I do not know," Evan said. His voice came out rough. "I have never seen that dragon before tonight. I only wanted work and a bed." Mara studied his face, then his chest, where a faint light still bled through the cloth. She nodded once at the guards. "Untie him, but do not lower your spears," she ordered. "If he lies, we will know soon enough." The ropes fell away. Evan rubbed his wrists, trying not to flinch under their stares. Mara turned toward the hall. "Come with me," she said. "There is something you need to see, and something I need to remember." They climbed a spiral stair inside the council tower. Torches hissed on the walls. With every step, the air grew cooler and heavier. The stones seemed to hum under Evan's boots. At the top, Mara pushed open a thick door of dark wood. The room beyond was round and full of shadows. Shelves lined the curved walls, heavy with old books. Maps hung in cracked frames, showing lands Evan had never heard of. Dust turned in the torchlight like slow-drifting ash. "This is the oldest library in Astafall," Mara said. "These books tell stories that most would rather burn. Tonight they may save us or end us." She moved with care between the tables, fingers trailing along broken spines. At last she stopped, and pulled out a wide leather book. Its cover blackened on one corner. She set it down, opened it near the middle, and turned the pages with reverent hands. Lines of faded ink crawled across the paper, tiny and dense. "Listen," she said softly. "The silent dragon of Asterfall, last of the royal warflight, vanished at the end of the great burning, last seen above a field of ash, carrying something in its claws." Evan felt a small chill run through him. "Carrying what?" he asked. Mara's mouth tightened. "That line used to say more," she answered, "but long ago someone tore the rest away." He looked at the ripped paper, at the white bite mark where the truth should be. His pendant throbbed against his chest, matching his heart. He slipped a hand under his shirt and held it. The smooth, dark scale was almost hot now. "It was my father's," he said quietly. "He told me to never sell it, never show it. He said it would tell me where I belong." "Your father?" Mara asked. "Who was he?" Evan shook his head. "He called himself Hale, like me, nothing more. He said names before that were dangerous. He died on the road 5 years ago. After that I walked from town to town. Most places turned me away. He always said walls were not meant for me." Mara watched him with her single clear eye. "The Guardian reacts to you," she said. "The monsters outside follow some old hunger. And in our oldest book, a dragon leaves the war carrying a secret. Do you truly think none of this—" Evan followed Councillor Mara through narrow stone corridors that twisted like veins inside the tower. Torches flickered on the walls, throwing long shadows that crawled ahead of them. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the stones carried memories too old for human minds. Each step made Evan feel smaller, like the tower itself was watching him walk deeper into its heart. Mara stopped at a final iron door, ancient and scarred. 2 guards stood before it with their spears crossed. When they saw Mara, they straightened and lifted their weapons, but their eyes flicked to Evan with clear unease. "Inside is something the city has forgotten," Mara said, "something that should have stayed forgotten. Until tonight." The door opened with a groan that sounded almost alive. A cold breath of stale air crawled out, brushing across Evan's neck. He stepped inside with Mara close behind. The 2 guards refused to enter and waited outside, hands shaking on their spears. The room was circular, carved straight into the mountain stone. In the center, raised on a cracked pedestal, lay a massive dragon skull. Its horns curled back like blackened lightning. Its teeth were still sharp, still deadly despite a century of dust. But what made Evan stop breathing, what made his heart slam hard in his chest, was the empty space at the skull's forehead. A hollow curve where a scale should have been, the same shape, the same size as the pendant under his shirt. The air in the chamber vibrated, a low hum spread through the stone like distant thunder. Mara's face tightened. "So," she whispered, "it is true." The Guardian did carry something from the battlefield. Evan felt the pendant heat until it burned his palm. He took a slow step back, breath shaking. I don't know what this means," he said. But the words didn't even convince him. Mara looked at him with something between fear and respect. "You are connected to dragons in a way humans are not," she said softly. "And the silent dragon knows it." She walked closer to the skull, running her fingers across the ridged bone. "Do you know this dragon's name?" she asked him. When Evan shook his head, she answered, "This is the skull of Varion the Last, the king's own battle brother." "The one who vanished with a child in the burning fields," Evan swallowed hard. "A child," he echoed. Mara nodded. "A half-blood," she said. "A human and a dragon-blooded mother. The final hope for peace." Evan's thoughts blurred. He tried to picture himself as a baby in a dragon's claws. He tried to imagine a mother he never met, a woman with fire in her voice, holding him for the last time. But before he could speak, a deep rumble rolled through the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling, the torches guttered and nearly died. The room shook like something enormous had struck the tower from outside. Mara steadied herself on the pedestal. "The Guardian is moving again!" she hissed. "Something has provoked it!" Evan felt the pull, a sharp, invisible tug inside his chest, like a voice with no sound, like a command without words. He stumbled toward the exit without thinking. The guards outside the door stepped back in fear. Where do you think you're going? One demanded. But Evan barely heard him. The pull was growing stronger, dragging him like a tide. He pushed past them, running down the corridor. Mara followed, shouting his name. But Evan's legs moved on their own, his heart hammered in his ribs. The tower around him vibrated with every step. The air hummed louder, louder. When he burst onto the balcony that faced the ancient wall, he froze, eyes wide in shock. The silent dragon was no longer crouched in silence. It was standing tall on the battlements, wings half spread, its eyes blazing gold like twin suns, its massive head turned fully toward him, not toward the city, not toward the monsters outside. Toward him, wind whipped around the balcony, folding banners snapped, tiles rattled. People gathered in the streets below, staring in terror. Some fell to their knees, some ran, some simply watched in stunned silence, and then, for the first time in 100 years, the silent dragon's mouth opened. Not in a roar, not in anger, but in words spoken without sound, words that landed in Evan's mind like an echo from another world. At last, you hear me. Evan grabbed the railing, his vision swimming. His knees shook as another wave of invisible pressure washed over him. "Who, what are you?" he whispered. The dragon's eyes flared brighter. "The one who swore to protect you," the voice said. "The one who carried you from the fire. Prince of the lost flame." Evan's heart stopped, his breath broke, his world split open, and far beyond the walls, in the darkness of the plains, something ancient and hungry lifted its head, sensing that the boy it had searched for was finally awakening. The balcony shook beneath Evan's feet as the silent dragon's voice faded from his mind. He stood frozen, gripping the cold stone railing, his heart beat too fast, his breath too thin. The echoes of those last words, Prince of the Lost Flame, refused to leave him. Behind him, Councillor Mara stepped out onto the balcony, her face pale, her single clear eye full of fear and something else. Respect, maybe. But before she could speak, a loud horn blasted through the city. A warning horn, sharp and angry. From below, soldiers poured into the courtyard, weapons raised, armor clattering. They weren't looking at the dragon. They were looking at Evan. A commander pointed up at him. "There! That's him!" he roared. "He's controlling the Guardian! He's calling the monsters! Seize him!" Evan's breath caught. "What? No! I haven't done anything!" But the soldiers were already rushing toward the tower. Mara moved to block the balcony door. "Stop!" she ordered sharply. "Don't lay a hand on him!" Her voice was strong, but the fear in the soldiers' faces was stronger. "The dragon woke for him," one yelled. "It protected him alone," shouted another. "He's not human! Look at his eyes!" Evan touched his face, shocked, but Mara shook her head. "They're frightened," she whispered. "They see what they do not understand." Below, the silent dragon lowered its head, its golden eyes narrowed at the rushing soldiers. The ground trembled as it shifted its massive weight. A low, warning growl rippled through the air like rolling thunder. Stones cracked along the battlements, soldiers stumbled backward, eyes wide. Suddenly unsure whether capturing Evan was worth angering the ancient guardian, Mara leaned close, speaking fast. "Listen to me, Evan. You are no ordinary traveler. The dragon knows you. The monsters hunt you. If the council learns your bloodline, they will try to control you, or destroy you." Evan swallowed. "What am I supposed to do?" Before she could answer, another horn sounded, this one deeper, darker. It came from the outer walls, a horn that only rang when the city was under attack. Shouts echoed from every street. "Monsters at the east gate! The horde is growing! Too many! Too many!" Mara's expression hardened. "The corrupted ones," she whispered. "They should not be this close unless something is leading them." Evan felt the pendant heat again. A warning, a pulse, a call. His chest tightened. He could hear something at the edge of his mind. A whispering voice, hungry and terrible, calling his name like a distant storm. Mara grabbed his arm. "You must leave this tower now," she said. "The council wants you locked away. The soldiers think you'll doom us, and the monsters outside think you belong to them." Evan pulled free. "Why me? I don't even understand who I am." His voice cracked with anger and fear. "Why would the dragon protect me? Why would monsters chase me across half the world? Why would my pendant fit inside that skull?" Mara's eyes softened. Because you are the last child of the dragon peacekeeper, she said. And because your mother died to keep you hidden. Evan shook his head. No. No, that can't be true. But the words felt empty, every memory, every strange dream, every warning from his adoptive father. They all pointed the same direction. A loud crash shook the tower. The floor tilted under them, dust falling in clouds. Mara's eyes went wide. That came from inside the city, she whispered. They've breached part of the lower wall. More screams rose from the streets. The smell of smoke drifted upward. Shadows moved where no shadows should be. Evan felt something inside him snap into focus. A sudden clarity, sharp and terrifying. He looked toward the wall where the silent dragon waited. Its wings half open now, its eyes fixed on him with fierce urgency. Mara stepped back, her voice trembling but respectful. It's calling you, Evan. It wants you to choose. Choose what? He asked, breath shaking. But she didn't need to answer, because he felt it. The dragon wasn't calling him to run, it wasn't calling him to hide, it was calling him to stand, to step into a role he never asked for, a role written in fire and blood long before he was born. Far below, the silent dragon lifted its great head and roared. A sound that shook every window in Asterfall, a sound of warning, of war, of awakening. Evan clenched his fists. His fear burned away, leaving something sharper behind. For the first time in his life, he understood why the monsters hunted him, why the dragon had waited for him, why the city feared him, because whether he wanted it or not, he was the key to the war that was coming, and both sides were ready to claim him. The city of Asterfall shook as if a giant hand had grabbed it and tried to tear it from the mountain. Evan gripped the balcony railing to keep himself standing. Below him, smoke curled through the streets, people rushed in panic, doors slammed, children cried. The warning horns blared again and again, each louder and more desperate. The walls trembled under distant impacts. Dark shapes climbed the outer stone like crawling shadows. Monsters poured from the black forest. Clawed beasts with twisted limbs, glowing eyes, and bodies bent by corruption. They didn't move like animals. They moved like soldiers following orders. Someone, something, was directing them. The silent dragon spread its wings fully now. They cracked the air with a shock that echoed across the entire city. For a century, those wings had been still. Now they beat with the weight of a coming war. Councillor Mara turned to Evan, her face pale but steady. "It has begun," she whispered. "The corruptor has found you." Evan felt ice slide down his spine. "The corruptor?" he asked. Mara nodded grimly. "The ancient enemy of dragons, the one who poisoned the war fields, the one your mother tried to stop." Another quake shook the tower. Dust rained down. Books toppled inside the library. Screams rose from the lower streets. A monstrous howl answered from outside the wall. Deep, hungry, unnatural. Evan's pendant pulsed like a living heart. It glowed brighter now. A fierce golden light that cut through the smoke. He grabbed it, feeling warmth shoot up his arm. A voice whispered faintly at the back of his mind, calling his name in a language he somehow understood, but could not speak. He stumbled backward. "What is happening to me?" he gasped. Mara caught his shoulder, her one clear eye sharp with urgency. "The corruptor wants you alive," she said, "and the monsters will tear this city apart to reach you." Her voice lowered, almost breaking. "If the Guardian falls, Asterfall will burn." Evan looked at the great dragon on the wall. Its body glowed with faint lines, ancient runes awakening across its scales. Gold light pulsed from its throat. It was preparing to fight, but it was old, far older than any creature should be. Below, the gates buckled under enormous force. "Breach! Breach at East Wall!" someone screamed. The city soldiers formed ranks, but fear broke them faster than any teeth. Shadows leaped from rooftops, monsters burst through alleyways, chaos swallowed whole streets. Evan felt torn in two. Fear pulled him one way, destiny pulled him the other, but the dragon's gaze found him again, and in that moment, Evan understood something terrifying and true. The dragon could not win this alone. A deafening crash shook the tower. A monstrous serpent-like creature slammed its body against the lower walls. Its dozens of legs scraped stone, claws digging deep. Black ooze dripped from its jaws, burning holes in the stone. Behind it marched a towering beast with armor like bone plates. Its roar shook lanterns off the tower walls. The Corruptor's army was not a simple horde. It was an invasion, a coordinated assault. Mara pulled Evan back from the balcony. "We have to move," she said. "The council wants to imprison you in the tower vault. Not for your safety, but because they fear the dragon will destroy the city for you." Evan shook his head fiercely. "No, I'm not hiding while people die." "You will die too," Mara warned. "Or worse, be taken." Evan clenched his fists. His blood felt too hot, his senses too sharp. The pendant's glow matched the distant beating of the silent dragon's heart. "I can feel it," he whispered. "The Corruptor. It's calling me." A distant roar answered him. A roar that didn't belong to any monster, a roar full of intelligence and hunger, a roar that felt like a hand reaching for his throat from miles away. Mara pushed him toward the tower stairs. "Go to the wall," she said. "The Guardian is waiting for you." Then her voice lowered. "And if the legends are true, only you can wake its full power." As they ran, the ground shook again. A massive claw slammed onto the tower wall. Stone shattered, the corridor filled with rubble and dust. Evan shielded Mara as debris rained down. A monstrous screech echoed right outside, close, too close. The silent dragon roared in answer. A blazing golden beam shot past the window. It vaporized the beast that had climbed the tower. Smoke drifted upward. The air glowed with fire and light. Evan stared in awe. The ancient dragon was fighting with every last piece of strength it had. For him, for the city, for a promise made long ago. As they reached the outer stairs, Evan looked out over Astafall, flames, shadows, screams. The city was breaking, the monsters were winning, and the Corruptor was coming closer with every breath. Evan swallowed hard. Fear twisted inside him, but underneath it burned something stronger. A fire he could no longer ignore. He stepped toward the wall, toward the dragon, toward the war that had been waiting for him since the day he was born. "Ready or not," he whispered, "I'm coming." The wind howled across the burning rooftops of Astafall. Ash drifted like black snow. The screams of soldiers mixed with the monstrous roars from outside the walls. Evan ran through the smoke-filled courtyard, his heart pounding hard enough to shake his chest. Mara kept close behind him, her cloak snapping in the hot wind. Above them, the silent dragon circled the wall. Its wings cut the smoke apart like knives. Every beat of those wings shook the stones below. Golden light leaked between its scales, brighter with every moment, as if it was waking fully for the first time in 100 years. But the monster horde kept coming, claws scraping stone, jaws snapping, dark ooze dripping from their bodies. Every rooftop, every alley, every gate was filled with nightmare shapes, all of them pushing toward one single point. Evan. He could feel it, a heavy pull like a chain around his soul, a cold whisper at the edge of his thoughts, calling his name in a voice he wished he had never heard. As he sprinted, the ground in front of him split open. A massive horned beast rose from the earth. Its skin cracked with black fire, its eyes like red wounds. It towered over the courtyard, snarling. The Corruptor's mark burned across its chest. It lunged at Evan. But before the claws touched him, the silent dragon dropped from the sky like a falling star. The impact shook the world. Stone shattered, dust blasted outward. The Guardian landed between Evan and the monster. Its wings spread wide, shielding him completely. A deep voice filled Evan's mind again. Stronger, louder, burning with emotion. "Do not fear. I swore to protect you." Evan pressed a hand against the dragon's warm scales, his breath shaking. "You're hurt," he whispered, because now he saw it. Cracks along the dragon's chest, dark wounds that oozed smoke. The old Guardian was fighting beyond its limits. Another roar echoed from the east, then another from the west. Dozens now. The Corruptor's army was calling back, uniting, hunting, closing in. Mara reached Evan, eyes wide with terror. "We must fall back!" she shouted. "The Guardian can't hold them forever!" The dragon turned its massive head toward her, its golden eyes glowing brighter. "Not forever," it answered inside their minds. "Only long enough." "Long enough for what?" Evan demanded. But the dragon's gaze locked onto him with a weight that made his knees tremble. A mix of sadness, and pride. Long enough for you to choose. Evan stared at the dragon. Smoke rushed around them. Monsters clawed at the broken courtyards. Buildings burned. The city screamed. "What choice?" Evan asked, voice cracking. "I don't understand!" The dragon lifted its head. The golden markings across its body began to glow like a rising sun. The air hummed, the ground vibrated, a bright circle of light slowly formed behind it. A gate of pure fire, tall as a cathedral, older than the city itself. Mara gasped. "The gate of the Dragon Empire," she whispered. "A portal sealed since the Burning War." The dragon spoke again, its voice deeper, heavier. "Only your blood can open it, Evan Fireborn." Evan took a step back. "No. I can't open that! I don't know how to lead anyone! I'm just a traveler!" "You are the child of peace," the dragon said. "The key the corruptor seeks. The heir your mother died to protect." Lightning cracked across the sky. The monster horde screamed as if sensing the gate's power. More of them poured toward the courtyard. The walls trembled. Stones fell. Mara grabbed Evan's arm. "Listen to it," she begged. "This may be the only way to save Astafall." The dragon lowered its head until its eye was level with Evan. He could see his reflection in its glowing gaze, frightened, unsure, shaking. But something else too, something he had never noticed before. A small, bright flicker, a flame deep inside him, not born from fear. Born from destiny, a massive boom erupted behind them. The east wall collapsed inward. A wave of monsters flooded through the breach. The silent dragon roared. Fire erupted from its throat, a burning golden storm that wiped out the front ranks. But the dragon staggered afterward, its legs shook, its breath grew heavy, it could not last. Evan stepped forward, his pendant burned like the sun. His pulse matched the dragon's weakening heartbeat. He placed both hands on the glowing firegate. The heat should have destroyed him. But it didn't. It welcomed him, recognized him. The gate burst into brilliant flames. The ground shook, wind roared through the courtyard. And a massive shape stepped through the light, a giant dragon, larger than the silent guardian. Blue fire burning along its horns and wings, its voice shook the sky. "Prince Evan Fireborn, the Dragon Empire has waited long enough." The monsters froze, the silent dragon bowed, and Evan's entire world changed in a single breath.